friends, and welcome to day 23 of Drenched in Wonder Cannabis Conversations. Day 23, that means we are down to our final 3 episodes, friends. And this also means that we are down to the final 3 days of the Drenched in Wonder Kickstarter campaign. What is Drenched in Wonder? It is the true story of my experience with cannabis. I really set out to offer a different perspective around cannabis through this book and through this podcast, and I really am just so proud of it. Check it out, drenchedinwonder.com. Support the Kickstarter if you can. So today, day 23, I wanted to talk about the people who don't use cannabis, the ones who may be adverse to it or against it. There are plenty of them out there, of course. I was one of them once upon a time. And as we move more and more towards a normalized conversation around cannabis, there is obviously going to be resistance that we hit up against. After all, we're fighting against the best part of 100 years of cannabis prohibition and stigma. Naturally, there are a lot of people still stuck in this and a lot of minds still to change. But also, as we've seen, there are some legitimate concerns around cannabis, and there are people for whom cannabis is probably not a good idea. And on the whole, I've found it's a topic to tread very carefully with. So how do we have this conversation out in the world? How do we deal with this resistance when it comes up? The topic of cannabis, as we've seen, is going to bring up a range of reactions in people. Anything from like complete indifference to like shock and terror that we would be messing around with something so dangerous. And you never really do know how someone's going to react. Is there a reason to have a conversation at all? Can we just kind of keep doing our own thing? Absolutely, if that's what we're feeling. Cannabis users don't owe anyone an explanation. But we also don't want to be stigmatized or criminalized or demonized in any kind of way for our choice to experiment and explore with this natural plant. And that's why the conversation is important. That's why it is one worth having. And though we may choose not to, for whatever reason, if we can find the courage to speak up and to share our stories, then this is what creates meaningful change. So as we have this conversation and more of us kind of start coming out as cannabis users and the whole conversation becomes more normalized and more accepted, which is all happening, of course, it's important to remember that however we feel about cannabis, it is a sensitive topic for a lot of people. And very often we may find that we are met with a closed door, with a brick wall. If we go out on a mission to convert people to trying cannabis and start using cannabis themselves, we're going to hit up against some pretty strong resistance, justifiably so. But if we approach the conversation with gentleness, leading with our own stories and our own experiences, people listen differently when they don't feel they're being judged or recruited. Maybe this is a conversation we want to have on a higher level. Maybe we want to campaign. Maybe we want to protest. And there is benefit in that if that's what we choose. But remembering that we are all human and that we're all in this together, ultimately we're trying to open minds, not to close doors. And sometimes the best advocacy is just being grounded and joyful and thoughtful in our own use. We may not feel the need to shout it from the rooftops, but if this is something that adds meaning to our lives, then we also probably don't want to keep it secret forever. Nor should we have to, and nor do we need to. Maybe it's not about winning arguments or changing minds, it's just simply about living our own truths. Because there are some people who shouldn't use cannabis. Some people will try it and be like, no thanks, never again. But there are some who may find something truly just beautiful and special, something that adds so much to their lives. And a lot of those people are caught up in the stigma. I was one of them. This is a conversation that belongs to us all. No one should be excluded from it. And there is, I suspect, a great many people who would find meaning and beauty and insight and wonder and joy. And so, as the responsible cannabis users of this world, we also have a responsibility to have this conversation with care. If we keep speaking our stories with honesty and with truth and with a balance, acknowledging the challenges, but also acknowledging all the joy, then this is perhaps the best form of advocacy that any of us can bring to the conversation. And friends, of course, in the end, cannabis isn't going anywhere. It's been around for a long time, and it's going to be around for a long time after we're all gone. There's certainly no stopping it. Fingers crossed that the world continues to see reason around cannabis and this whole conversation. And until that time, we press on, sharing or just owning our stories, happily high and drenched in wonder. In the end, friends, it's not about winning arguments. It's not about changing minds. It's just about owning and living our own truths. And let that be our approach. Let that change minds if they are open to being changed. What about you? Have you ever had a conversation with someone who was against cannabis or didn't understand it? Like, how did you navigate that? Thank you for joining me for this episode, friends. Looking forward to seeing you for our final 2 episodes of Drenched in Wonder Cannabis Conversations. Check out the book, drenchedinwonder.com. And for the next episode, I'm going to summarize everything that I wish I knew when I was first experimenting with cannabis. Until soon, friends, be safe, be smart.